Are you in charge of your school's morning announcements? Are you the person in charge of putting everything together and going from the beginning of script writing all the way to uploading to the internet? If that is true, please stay tuned and let's get started. I know this is going to be a very niche topic, and this is going to be mainly for those teachers and faculty and whoever else that are making a morning announcements for your high school, middle school, elementary, wherever, and you need help figuring out what are the steps on how to create this. The reason I'm making this is because for the last 3 years, I was a high school teacher that made over 407 videos for our morning announcements. For the last year, I made them 5 times a week. The reason I'm making this video is because when I was setting all of this up and getting ready to start the new school year of my first year teaching, I had nowhere to go. I didn't see any videos online about how to get this started. So if you're out there, I know this is a very niche topic, but here it is. I'm so excited to share my 3 years of knowledge with you. As we start this video, I want to start out by talking about my process of getting started and creating the script for the videos. Creating something every single day, like I made a video about, is tough. It's not easy, and it's something that you have to be really dedicated and work hard at. So, first things first is you have to create a script, something for these people to say and do and explain the information that needs to happen. One of the biggest things that I've learned while creating 3 years of content was work with other people, learn from those that are around us, because a lot of the times when creating morning announcements, students, at least for me, felt like they weren't being talked about, shared about, because I wasn't getting the information. But sending out an email on a weekly basis or every other week, whatever it is, just reminding teachers and faculty and other coaches and people on campus to send you information in ways that we can celebrate our students while also talking about the activities and things that are happening in these students' daily lives. Our school day is very important. Our school day maybe looks long, but once you've divided it between each of the different periods that you have, the time it takes to explain projects, the questions, your day gets shorter and shorter, and you don't always really want to share it with your morning announcements. So the way we did it at our school, or at the school that I worked at, was at the beginning of the school day, we would show our morning announcements, and they were around a minute to 2 minutes, and then once a week we had a devotion from our principal, and that was around 4 to 5 minutes. I recommend that when creating your morning announcements, add some variety, because if you have something over and over and over again, it gets repetitive and overwhelming. Maybe it's once a week. Get your principal, get your vice principal, your whoever is important on your campus, give a face to the name. I felt when creating our morning announcement devotionals from our principal, I asked him to do that because it felt like it gave a face and something that the students could interact with on a weekly basis with our principal. So I believe this was a great way for him to talk about something happening on campus, or giving a prayer or a devotional, gave a chance for students to see his face and hear from him on a weekly basis. One thing, as we're continuing to write that script, check your calendar. If you have a whole school-wide calendar, check it, add to it daily, and if you're writing a script on something that's happening currently, ask a student, ask somebody that knows what's happening, and make it something that you don't just stop on a Monday morning because you've written it all the way to the end of the week. Keep it going. Change it when it needs to be changed. Maybe it's scheduled changes for sports. Make sure to change that. Talk to students, talk to coaches. Make sure you're having the most up-to-date information. And another thing that I've learned, especially from 3 years of doing this, was get student leadership, get them involved. It allows students to be seen, get them to help you write the scripts, because these are the students scheduling these events, creating these events, their socials, maybe even get them to become on-air talent. And that brings us to the topic, which is casting your students. I think it's fun to have some teacher, faculty, like I said, with our principal, but I think it's important to get the students involved. So one of the ways to do that is casting students. Get them to come on a regular basis. What we did in my second year was we scheduled students to come on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday schedule, and they knew after school, during lunch, during a prep period, whatever it was, that they knew they were going to come, and that was their scheduled time. One of the biggest things with that information is that students need to buy in on this project. It takes time to film something, and it takes time for them to do this. So I've seen a lot of schools, they'll have classes for this. So if you have the ability to create a class all around creating your morning announcements or creating news, types of content, that's great. But if you don't have that luxury like I didn't, get students that are really excited to be in front of the camera and get them excited about making something that the whole school gets to see. Another thing that I learned in my time frame when I was doing this job was have a teleprompter. The teleprompter is great. Having an app on my phone, I have it right here actually. I would write everything in a Google Doc and I would just copy and paste it. And it looks like this. You would click it and then you can hit play. And then I basically had a mirror. Oh, you can kind of see it in the camera. You would basically have it reflected so the student could read along with it. You could change the speed so that students could read along with it instead of having to memorize it or look down. Because when you have a teleprompter, it would create it right in front of the camera lens. So it looked like a student was looking at the camera and less like a student was looking down because they were reading a piece of paper below or looking down completely because they were reading a piece of paper at their desk. Another thing would be creating some sort of set for the morning announcements. I really recommend creating some sort of set that you can come to on a daily basis and have it in a place that you can get to easily and set up easily. My first year doing this job, I would create a whole different set every single quarter. And that was just too much. So I recommend creating one really great set that you can add to throughout the year. Like I remember adding an RGB light to the set. I also added different Funko Pops in the back. I added different posters throughout the year. I made it a living set. It made it fun so that students had something new to look at, something more. It felt like it was an ever-evolving situation. I will put up a list of all of the gear that I used while making this. I learned a lot about making a set. It's important to make it repeatable. I learned that it was really fun to set all my lights up on an app so that all I had to do was walk up, click a button on my phone, all my lights turned on and they were ready to go. That was a really fun and unique way to get started, and it didn't take time because it's hard when a student maybe only has 5 minutes to film your morning announcements. If you have the ability and space, I get it. A lot of us don't have a lot of space, but if you can, set up in a corner in your classroom or in a room that you can get to quickly and have it ready to go. Another thing that I learned while filming these morning announcements, have some sort of microphones, because it's really hard to hear a student. I learned that really quickly in my time, was that if you don't have a microphone, it's hard to hear them. I loved having these microphones. These are actually the microphones the students used because I bought them. I loved having something they could hold. It felt more like a newscast. It was amazing. And you also had way clear and amazing audio because it was right up against their mouth instead of, a microphone that was all the way back there and you can't hear them. Again, all of this is nice to have if you do not have a budget. So if you have a small budget, try to invest in good audio. You've scripted it, filmed it, and now you are ready to edit it. We are in our second to last step, which is throw it into your editing software of choice. I love Final Cut Pro because it was quick, easy, and very quick on the export speeds. If you have a Mac, Final Cut Pro is a little bit of an extra charge, but it is a one-time payment. It's not like Adobe softwares where you have to pay for it over and over and over again. One thing that I learned in the editing software, or at least for me, was I loved making it feel kind of like a YouTube video. Added, the little pop-ups that said follow the school on Instagram or like and subscribe. Any ways that I could interact with the students more. I even made sure to add like a little text bar that would pop up and it would give like a caption almost of the topic, so if a student wasn't fully listening, they could read it on the screen, so it would affect both the visual and auditory learners. We did our best to try to connect with as many students as possible. Loved having little ads from different events, like I would talk to theater students and get them to make a small video that would go along with the show or event happening for them. And last, of course, depending on how you guys do your morning announcements, the way we did it, we would upload it to YouTube, and it would be something that teachers would show at the beginning of class, and it needed to be something they could get to quickly. So one way to keep that in mind is that if you were going to upload it to YouTube or on the internet at all, it is something that lasts on the internet forever. It's not something to scare you, but it should be a representation of your school on a daily basis. So don't rush through something. If it takes a little bit longer, I recommend taking a little bit longer on the edit because it's something that lasts on the internet forever. Students, families, whoever are going to watch these videos for years to come. They're gonna see how the school operates. Remember, you're representing your school on a daily basis, weekly basis, however you are doing it. So make sure it looks the best you can and it looks as cohesive as you can as well. Hopefully that helps somebody out there. Please, I know if you have questions, leave them in the comment section down below. Again, I know this is a very niche topic, but for those people that need this video, hopefully this will help. If at all you guys learned something, please hit that subscribe button, like button, and I will see you next time. Peace.